Learn to be super successful. Subscribe to my channel, Meathead.
Trying to figure out what data to pay attention to and what data not to pay attention to, because some of this was pulled from their 10K, but the way this was written up, it wasn't exactly designed, for a QLA.
Well, the first question, would you do it or wouldn't you? That's the first question. The second deal, if you would do it, how would you do it? Remember?
Yeah.
And in this particular one, and I talked about breakup fees, which none of you took notes, but anyway, well, I've seen breakup fees on $1 million deals. And basically, the breakup fee at the lower end of $1 or $2 million deals is there to help defray due diligence costs. On that particular case, there could have been $1 billion in due diligence. It's rare that somebody allows a deal to be taken away from a Chevron, because Occidental is a lot smaller than Chevron, and so, but they know, and they paid the breakup fee because they know that Chevron would chase them, absolute 100% forever, and they've got enough in-house legal staff and lawyers on retainer to make Occidental's life miserable. But if it was a lesser, they tell them fuck off, and they just walk.
And this bid did take almost 2 years.
Yep.
To finalize.
And I'm surprised that they got it done that quick. And but the feistiness of the Occidental comes from its founder, Armand Hammer, who was the CEO in my day, and who was a miserable human being. He sold pencils to Lenin in Russia. He was a dentist, but he found it was easier to make money in commodities, which is true. And he was considered a communist for a long, long time, blah, blah, blah. And then when Armand Hammer died, he had, I don't know, $3 billion or something worth of art that he'd used Occidental money for his houses. And he had a string of girls, but anyway. And he died the day before he was going to be bar mitzvahed. He was 100 years old. Bar mitzvahed, they was going to cleanse his soul. And he died 4 or 5 hours before his soul was going to be cleansed. And he fucked everybody. Everybody that ever owned a pencil, he fucked. And everybody knew it. And he built a gourmet restaurant, Occidental Towers, just on the outskirts of Los Angeles, which I used to frequent all the time. Arguably one of the best wine cellars in America, maybe the world. And just for his, the restaurant was on the top floor, and the headquarters of Occidental Petroleum were the rest of the building, 40 floors or 30 floors. So he didn't have to drive too far to have a gourmet lunch. He's also the guy that didn't invent, but kind of invented the power nap. When he got 60, 70, 80, he used to take a nap in the afternoons, 20, 30 minutes, probably 2 hours. And so he didn't like, it's like when Biden said that he takes a 2-hour nap every afternoon and he doesn't take meetings past 10 p.m. He was dead. Okay, well, this guy, Armand Hammer, was back in the 70s and early 80s, and I competed against him.
I was going to say, I think I remember you mentioning him when you were over in Israel bidding for that contract. He was one of the...
Yeah, they said, Armand Hammer's here tomorrow, Shell's here the next day, and why should we give it to you, Mr. Peña? And I said, with the greatest respect, Minister, you know the difference between chicken shit and chicken salad. He says, you've been dealing with a chicken shit, and I am the chicken salad. Yep, famous words. I still talk that way. It still works. And guys, I get all this business for a reason. Not because I've got the best deal. Not because I have the best finance.
Reputation.
No, even before reputation. Attitude. And as the Minister of Energy in Israel said, if anybody, I'm a goyim, I'm a non-Jew. If anybody's going to get us this oil, this guy's got enough chutzpah. And You can count the guys that have chutzpah coming through the seminar on this many fingers in 30 years. 10 fingers. If you count the thumb as a finger. Because I'm not afraid what people think. I don't care if I make a mistake. I don't care if once I get her in the motel room, the rest is history. I'm not interested that it's her period. I'm not interested that her father raped her. I don't give a fuck about any of that. And it's boded me well. Sally said, "What's this?" That's what they give you if you're a knight. Okay? And not much of a fucking thing other than my medals and all this other shit. But I missed out on being a knight 40 years ago. 40 years ago, I never gave up.
Why?
Because I've done more for Catholic kids than anybody since fucking Christ.
No, why did you miss out?
Oh, I was arrogant, like I could have been a prince of the church. Governor Hugh Carey, former governor of New York, a mentor of mine, he was on my board. Was asshole buddies with the Pope, and he could, I've told him about what you've done, blah, 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 blah. And I did some deals with the Vatican Bank, and I was honorable, blah, blah, blah. But then something came up that I thought was more important, and I thought that I didn't realize the prince of the church don't come up every fucking week. Okay? 40 years later. But I never give up. Just like I said, when I'm going to fuck you, you might as well give your soul to God, because I am going to sodomize your children's children before I'm done with you. And I will wipe your DNA off the face of the fucking earth. And there are guys like that. Trump's one of them. Remind me to tell you the story about this guy that just went down in his yacht off Sicily a few months ago.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I was on a yacht on the other side of Sicily. But remind me to tell you what Hewlett-Packard's now doing to his
HPE.
estate. They're taking everything.
Because he
From his foundation.
He fought them for 10 years.
Huh?
And won.
Yeah, and won, but
then died the next day.
the court made a mistake. And Hewlett-Packard is going to spend billions. Yeah. That's what happens when you fuck with these guys.
One of the guys that was in business with him got hit by a car.
Oh, yeah. The lawyer on the deal got hit. He's been on this bicycle route 26 years. He got run over and supposedly backed over. The guy says, "Oh, I didn't know I hit him," and making sure he's dead. The two guys that helped him do the deal to beat Hewlett-Packard were on the boat with him. And unfortunately, his 18-year-old daughter died. So did you know what the answer now? If you don't like the deal, I don't personally like this deal. I'm not going to tell you why, because then all you're going to do is mimic what I say.
So the multiple was calculated at 6.3.
That's too high.
So in this type of industry, what would be a multiple? You'd be basing
3 to 5.
3 to 5.
One of my kids, I told you the interesting oil deal, that he asked me to be chairman, and I'm actually go to the properties and look at them. Because we bought oil reserves back in the day on how much a barrel, not EBITDA. So there's proved producing reserves, the ones that are squirting out oil. There are proved reserves that are there, but not squirting out oil.
Estimated to be in the ground.
Okay? And then there's unproven, and then there's some other fucking, don't worry about those, okay? But you're buying them based on the proved reserves, either they're proved producing or proved but not producing. And my claim to fame is I bought hundreds of millions of barrels at $6 oil. When oil went from $43 a barrel to $6 a barrel. And then when it went back to $40 a barrel, I'm a genius.
You find that out by the stock?
No, you have to go, there are reserve reports. There should be reserve reports. You're measuring it the way I taught you how to measure it, but in oil deals, you buy it by the barrel, producing barrel. How many, and there are, how many producing barrels a day do they have?
None of that was in here.
Well, then you got to Google it. All the information is in public domain.
So here's what got me too. So the company was valued at $58 billion.
By whom?
At the time of based on share price and available stock that's out there.
Okay, well then, okay. So the market value was 58 billion. Okay,
Yeah,
market cap.
Right. Market
Okay.
capitalization. The purchase was 38 billion.
Okay, so well, that means that somebody did a calculation on barrel. Let's just put a 30. Call it 40, and let's just put a $40 barrel. That means they only bought 1 billion barrels. Did they buy more or less than 1 billion barrels? They call it 38.40, and say oil was $40 a barrel, which could very well be $40 a barrel back then. So that means they bought it at $40 a barrel, and I know they didn't pay $40 a barrel. They probably bought it at $30 a barrel, and that, or no, let's make it even easier. They bought it at $25 a barrel, and that would mean that there was 1,250 million barrels.
Proven reserves. That's
Producing.
Producing reserves.
And oil is right now about 70 something, I think. I don't follow it like I do. But that guy, what he said in that little clip is exactly why in that series Landman, you will not live long enough. Well, I mean, some of the older guys, chances of you seeing flying cars are zero. It's a joke. It's a fucking joke. Everybody knows it's a joke.
Are y'all connected to the internet?
Yes.
Because I'm not connected to the internet for some reason.
Okay, EJ? They're not connected to the internet. You should be. This is the only Catholic consecrated chapel in Scotland that's not part of a Catholic church. It took me 28 years to get this.
To get it consecrated.
Get it consecrated in the Catholic church. So I can say, and now I'm a prince of the church. I can do all kind of shit in there.
So as he's doing that, for me, I look at this and trying to get to that point just to see what I should be seeing first. Is it a deal or is it not a deal?
Correct. This is not a deal to me.
Okay. So you see...
But I got 40 years experience.
Right. So you have 40 years experience. So I have to track that somehow and say, okay, not that I'm going to get bogged down in extraneous information because, right, some of that's for the board, right?
Well, actually, no. Before you give it to the board, you've got to... No. In your little pea brain, is this a deal or not a deal based on what I learned from Peña?
Correct. So when I look at
and
this...
then you handed it to them for validation, verification, whatever,
But when I look at this, it's trying to extract that as not as fast as possible in a way that I'm not wasting my time or other people's time as saying, looking at graphs, charts, and all these things, but trying to get to that page because this isn't a standard P&L. Right, it's just a...
No, remember, you're not looking at a standard P&L. There's only 4 figures. I told you this. There's only 4 fucking numbers you need to know.
Right, which
now
is...
you're going to write it down for the first time.
Looking at net sales, net...
No, you're looking at gross top-line revenue. Top line. You sell 10 widgets at $10, it's $100. Okay? And for numbers that don't have cash flow separated out, you're looking at after-tax income. So let's say on $10, you're making $2 after taxes. You pay taxes.
So that'd be your cash flow?
No. Then if you're not in manufacturing, you add 50% onto the after-tax income. 50% of $2 is $1. $3 is your EBITDA or cash flow. Well, close enough for our numbers. $3. So you're going to spend 3 to 5 times EBITDA. So you're going to spend $9 to $12 for this piece of shit, the one I just described. That's it. You don't need any fucking numbers. And then when you give it to the board for validation, or most of the board members are, and that's why when I'm chairman, and I'm not pitching here to be chairman, when I'm chairman, I want to know what the other fuckfaces on the board. What did they tell you? Okay, and then I'll opine. And I learned two things. Number one, if the board knows what the fuck they're doing, sometimes they don't. My CFO I told you about was embarrassed. Mr. Chairman, I forgot that. Well, I forget what he said. Okay. It was very embarrassing, all these guys around him looking at him. You're the CFO. What the fuck are you here for? What are you getting 5% of the goddamn company for? Even though that was unspoken. But later at dinner, 7 drinks later, a couple of the guys in front of Sally said, Sally, if you were CFO, now you're sitting there, 9 guys at the board, the lawyer and Sally and the rest of the board. And you're an industry expert. And you're sitting next to Sally and you say, Sally, if you were CFO, you're a chartered accountant, blah, 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 and you slipped or didn't tell us such and such, what would happen? Now, the guy that you're talking about is sitting right there. Sally said he'd get sacked. And he should. But I got nobody else to hold the used hand, the mentee's hand.